At first glance, it's pretty difficult to guess what Dan is actually about. The story incorporates everything from ghosts to teen romance, but somehow it still manages to work. The recently released anime proves once more that Dan is one of the strangest and yet most exhilarating sagas we've seen in the last couple of years. Thus, to mark the release of the very first episode of this insane show, we're going to be doing a complete breakdown of the first episode along with a detailed analysis of Dan's outrageously bold protagonist, Momo Ayase. Momo Ayase Anatomy Explored. What does Momo Ayase look like? There's definitely no dearth of cute schoolgirl characters in today's anime and manga landscape. Despite this, with Momo Ayase, writer Yukinobu Tatsu has somehow managed to create a schoolgirl that feels extremely fresh and compelling in both her appearance and personality. The student of an unnamed high school in Kamikoshi City, Momo is one of the most important characters in this paranormal saga. A teenage girl of average build, she appears fairly lean in the oversized school sweater she's mostly seen wearing. The baggy socks, sandals, and loosely tied brown hair give her a pretty laid-back vibe despite her fierce expressions. Many of the male characters at her high school, like our protagonist, Okarun, consider her pretty attractive, and to be honest, we totally agree with them. She usually wears circular earrings and a black choker around her neck, which she kinda wears all the time, even when in different outfits. Though she seems to be quite vain, she only wears clothes that she can feel comfortable in. After all, she believes that a girl's combat gear is her style. At one point in the story, she literally gives up bulletproof spirit medium clothes for her own, even though the spirit clothes were again completely bulletproof. I guess it's just a matter of priorities. Complex personality of Momo Ayase explored. Though Momo appears like a gentle schoolgirl, even a mere introduction will alert you to the fact that she's anything but. An outrageously bold teenager with a penchant for chaos, she carries a no-nonsense energy that can often appear quite intimidating. Her one flaw is her short temper, as she is extremely prone to just losing it completely whenever provoked. Though Momo's bouts of anger can get extremely violent, these are always played off in a comedic manner, and Momo always expresses remorse whenever these episodes go too far. Though she often gets into fights with her classmates and friends, Momo is pretty well liked in her school. Momo also has a kind and friendly side to her, but only exposes this side to people she likes. The most defining quality about Momo as a character is her confident and fearless demeanor. She's rarely intimidated by anyone, no matter how powerful, and will definitely lash out whenever someone does the wrong thing. What makes Momo the ideal protagonist is her unwavering moral compass, which never lets her ignore injustice or misdeeds in any form. When faced with such situations, she shows an intrinsic desire to help whoever's been wronged. This, combined with her indomitable will, often leads her to take up challenges where the odds are clearly stacked against her. She'll take up fights even outnumbered and low on power, which just goes to show that no matter what, Momo will never back down. Over the course of the story, she's taken on entire gangs alone, fought through grievous injuries, and even taunted her foes while lying on the battlefield helpless. We kid you not, Momo has an incredibly large amount of fight in her, and it's a treat to watch her overcome challenges that would easily take out an average human being. Throughout this paranormal saga, Momo also exhibits keen intelligence, which often ends up saving her from extremely dicey situations. Other characters like Okarun and Unji also agree with this and sort of believe Momo to be a genius. Though Momo isn't a modest person by any means, her self-confidence never goes overboard. She's also not above using manipulative tactics to get what she wants, like, putting on puppy eyes to convince poor Okarun to enter Turbo Granny's tunnel before her. She's also quite street smart and once manipulated her friend Seiko's grandmother into buying her friends some new uniforms. Though most people see her tactics as juvenile, you still can't deny that they work pretty effectively, especially on people who don't know her that well. She's also an extremely good judge of character and can sense ulterior motives from a mile away. Despite all her intelligence, Momo also has a headstrong and reckless personality, which often prompts her to put her life in danger. For instance, she once let a monster brutally pummel her in order to eventually lead him to a spot where she could defeat him. Like most teenagers, Momo also has a thing for celebrities, especially the actor Ken Takakura. Her admiration for him extends to the point that she once dated a guy just because he looked like him and literally blushes every time Takakura is mentioned. When first introduced to the alien fanatic Okarun, she bluntly refuses to call him by his real name, Ken, in order to be respectful towards her hero. Though Momo can appear to be quite childish because of her constant anger episodes, she can be quite perceptive and is fully capable of taking matters seriously when the need arises. She has clearly inherited her playfulness and sense of humor from her grandmother and can also be overtly dramatic in certain situations. Due to her vain nature, Momo is kinda susceptible to flattery, and even the slightest bit of praise puts a stupid grin on her face. Momo's character is certainly a study in contradictions, but I guess that's what makes Dan so fun. What is Momo Ayase's backstory? Not much is known about Momo's past, but we do know that she came to live with her grandmother at a very young age. One of her earliest friends was Gigi, who even developed a serious crush on our ferocious heroine. Momo's grandmother has trained her to perform a certain daily ritual that apparently gives her good luck. Interestingly, Momo follows this ritual religiously despite her evident skepticism at the beginning of the story. However, this led to her being bullied by many boys, including her friend Gigi. The humiliation eventually leads Momo to blame her grandmother and even makes her doubt the existence of spirit mediums. After some time, Momo would come to see her grandmother's true intentions and even started understanding her job as a spirit medium much better. Though she came to believe in spirits, she's still shown to have doubts regarding whether spirits are real and if her grandmother is genuinely a psychic master. Momo Ayase in Dan. Episode 1 Breakdown. From the very first frame of the anime, it becomes evident that Dan is unlike anything we've ever seen before. The show opens with a colorful fever dream of an opening sequence that pulls you right in. The episode opens with Momo Ayase arguing with her ex-boyfriend. Well, arguing is kind of an understatement, as the two quickly start hitting each other with roundhouse kicks, but the ex wins this fight. At school, we're introduced to Momo's friends, and she expresses her admiration for Ken Takakura, who's the sole reason she dated her ex. She sulks about her love life and is walking down the halls when she comes across a boy in glasses being bullied by their classmates. The boys notice Momo glaring at them and stop bullying the boy, who is none other than Okurun, or Occult Kun. The boy chases after Momo in the hallway and saves her from her melancholia by proclaiming, "I know you're in love." Okurun shares with Momo his interest in everything occult and paranormal, which kind of leads the skeptic Momo to treat him a bit harshly. After a moment of awkward silence, Momo realizes her fault and confesses that she doesn't believe in aliens, but in ghosts. The boy laughs it off, saying that ghosts aren't real, which leads to another confrontation between the two. Momo finally tells him that her grandmother is a spiritual medium, which leads to another full-on debate between the two. The two unlikely friends decide to have a competition. Momo decides to head to a popular alien hotspot, while Okurun heads to a nearby haunted site. They agree to prove each other's beliefs wrong, and the person who would lose the contest would be forced into being the other's servant inside of school. In the dead of night, Momo heads to an abandoned hospital that has several UFO sightings, while Okurun heads to a tunnel that is known to be severely haunted. The duo keep in contact over a phone call and teach each other about ghosts and aliens. During this conversation, we learn a little bit about this wild and absurd world, along with the fact that Momo's grandmother is her sole caregiver. Moments like this are what keep Dan so engaging, as the realization that Momo doesn't have any parents is harsh for both Okurun and the audience. We also learn about the good luck ritual that got Momo bullied when she was a child, but it also confirms her love and belief in her grandmother. Okurun dodges a question about how he came to believe in aliens. This is where things start getting insane, as Okurun is suddenly confronted by an elderly ghost known as Turbo Granny. The ghost is an extremely peculiar one, as it demands an even exchange of sexual requests of all things. Of course, this scares the daylights out of Okurun, and he bolts towards an exit, all the while talking to Momo about the strange encounter. Just before the call cuts off, Momo receives a message from Okurun, and her phone goes red. She's about to go to her friend's aid when she's confronted by aliens who sort of have the same needs as Turbo Granny. The aliens rip Momo's clothes off, and she eventually wakes up and finds herself tied to a chair in nothing but a bra and underwear. A trio of aliens called the Rokuro appear and tell Momo that they're looking for human women to procreate with, as their race doesn't have any female members. They use psychokinesis to control Momo's brain, but despite the disadvantage, she puts up a great fight. However, the aliens are only stopped when a possessed Okurun pops out of Momo's phone. He now bears the face of the Turbo Granny and charges straight at the aliens. The fight is extremely impactful, and we have to give props to the superb animation, which makes every second feel special. The technologically advanced aliens and the old ghost in Okurun's body face each other with all their might. In the middle of the fight, we also learn of Okurun's intense desire to be friends with aliens, as he never had friends growing up. This is why he wanted to discover aliens, as he hoped that aliens would want to be his friends. It's a sad yet funny moment that cuts to the core of Okurun's character. Okurun's enthusiastic speech ends with a declaration that he wouldn't let the aliens harm Momo. He channels the ghost and becomes a monster, but is defeated when the aliens fire a beam at him. Meanwhile, Momo has a flashback to her grandmother's ritual in which she trained her to channel her internal chi. She channels her chi, and something strange begins to happen. Momo's newfound psychic abilities crack the very fabric of reality, shocking everyone, including herself. Thanking her grandmother for the power, Momo begins to fight back. The newly activated spirit medium lands a roundhouse kick against the aliens, causing their spaceship to come crashing down. Eventually, she's able to help Okarun get out of the granny's possession. They make it out of the abandoned hospital just in time and include that both ghosts and aliens are real. However, the Turbo Granny still gets back to the tunnel undefeated, which prompts Okarun to declare that he'll face her alone to avoid causing Momo any more trouble. Momo convinces him to take her along, and they decide to take on the challenge together. In the final moments of the episode, Momo realizes that she doesn't really know her new friend's name. Okarun politely replies, "I'm Ken Takakura." Needless to say, Momo's heart skips a beat, which she waves off as a coincidence. By the way, guys, is it just us, or do you too smell love in the air? I guess we'll have to wait till the next episode to find out. How strong and smart is Momo Ayase? Physical attributes. For a mere human, Momo has exceptional resilience and endurance. In the manga, she successfully eats a barrage of punches that are enough to create a crater on the wall behind her. Though it caused a couple of bruises, she recovered enough to move just a few seconds later. Her durability is also extremely impressive, as she was able to remain conscious enough after the barrage of punches to eventually take the monster down. Keen intellect. Momo is clearly one of the smartest and most perceptive characters in the story. Her intelligence is actually her greatest asset and allows her to come up with tactics that leave even aliens and ghosts baffled. She often comes up with the strangest strategies to defeat the monsters, like deducting from a monster's sumo-like appearance that he'd be vulnerable to touching the ground. Over the course of the story, there have been many instances where Momo's thinking has saved our heroes from certain defeat. Though some can see her as reckless, her dangerous schemes always seem to work, no matter who she's up against. What psychic powers does Momo Ayase possess? As a spirit medium, Momo possesses a slew of supernatural abilities like spiritual awareness. She's one of a few people who can see spirits and can even enter the alternate dimension of empty space. Chi or ki. She can tap into her own organic ki and have full access to her spiritual side. She's shown to possess incredible reserves of chi which have been sealed within her. She believes that she's invincible with access to them and can turn whatever she imagines into reality. Even in the very first encounter, this chi provides her with enough of a power boost to cause the spaceship to explode. Aura detection. She can sense the auras of living and non-living things around her. Psychokinesis. This ability allows her to control the movements of living and non-living things. This power usually manifests in the form of two giant hands that grab onto whatever she desires. She manipulates these hands using her actual ones, extending up to mid-range in combat. Momo's strengths. Momo's greatest supernatural ability is the way she can levitate living and non-living things, no matter how gigantic they are. Over the years, she's lifted things as big as a fire truck, so we know that this ability is pretty effective. Her psychokinesis was strong enough to divide a giant body of water and block other users from exerting their influence. She can also enter people's minds and peer into the memories of her targets. She discovered this ability by accident and has still not gained conscious control over it. But come on, you already know that a determined woman like her is going to master it pretty soon. Momo's weaknesses. Momo's inexperience with her psychic abilities does lead to some flaws, which we'll be getting to soon. Momo can only grab onto auras if she can see them clearly, but this is getting better the more she uses the ability. Since Momo's power is an extension of her hands, it's dependent on her real-life grip strength. Thus, it requires a great deal of effort to control large targets, especially if they start resisting. Some targets may also break through her control and drag her with them when the hold is unbroken. This renders her power ineffective against targets moving at high velocities like bullet trains. Moreover, her psychokinesis also relies on the sense of touch, meaning that they're susceptible to the sensation of pain. Her arms can thus be destroyed if the target exerts enough brute force. Momo's creative use of psychokinesis in combat and defense. In combat, Momo can use her psychokinetic arms to hurl large objects at her opponents, which leaves them open to attack. She can also levitate them overhead and constrain their movements. In close quarters, she can pull her enemies towards herself to deliver devastating blows and punches that are way more effective than her regular ones. She can also utilize this ability to attack enemies in their blind spots using objects they don't see coming. At one point, Momo covers both her arms in rubble and uses them as tangible limbs to deliver extra powerful punches. These arms also have multiple defensive applications and can protect Momo and her allies against attacks by shielding them. Throughout the series, Momo also performs other feats like squeezing curse aura, performing cardiac massages, and grabbing onto buildings to keep herself afloat. Needless to say, it's not the power, but the way she uses it that makes Momo so dangerous in combat. What techniques does Momo use in combat? Momo has a vast collection of techniques in her arsenal, like the Momo Tri-Beam, which blasts her opponent with a psychic blast. To accomplish this, she holds her hands up in a heart shape and shouts Momo Tri-Beam because, come on, would she even be an anime protagonist if she didn't? She can also use this technique in collaboration with Gigi's Ha Wave. This compensates for both the Momo Tri-Beam's lack of range and Ha Wave's lack of power, making the cumulative attack super effective. She also possesses an ability called the Power of Words, which allows her to achieve normally impossible things just by saying them out loud. She received training in this technique when she was young, but could only use it when she encountered a mind control alien. What equipment does Momo use in battle? The weapon Momo is most fond of is probably a baseball bat. In fact, she carried 4 bats to her battle with the Turbo Granny and even used them in conjunction. At one point in the story, she even takes control of the mecha suit named Great Quinta Bodhisattva after being irritated by Quinta's piloting. Though the suit was destroyed by a kaiju, Momo and her friend Ira were still able to make use of it with their superpowers. Marvelous verdict! This brief exploration of Momo's power will undoubtedly alert you to the fact that she's a pretty unique character. Both brash and sensitive, she's the perfect protagonist for this bonkers tale, and we can't really keep ourselves calm till the next episode is finally released. In any case, if you're looking for a new anime to binge, look no further because Dan is going to blow your mind. Well, unfortunately, that's it for today, but we want to hear what you think about Momo and Dan. This is Wizard Wheezy signing off for now, so I guess it's time for goodbyes, but don't worry, we'll catch you soon in the next one.